Now let's take a look at what 통분 is. 통분은 두 분수가 있을 때 분모와 분자의 적당한 수를 곱해서 분모를 같은 수로 만들어주는 것입니다. In English, we can call 통분 reduction to common denominator, and this is the process that makes the denominators of two fractions equal. And in order to compare two fractions, we need to set the denominators equal to each other and then see which fraction has the larger or smaller numerator value. So let's take a look at the example. 다음 두 분수의 분모를 100으로 통분하시오. They're asking us to make the denominator of both of these fractions 100.
Let's start with the fraction 3 over 2. First, we ask ourselves, what can we multiply by 2 to get 100? We can multiply 2 by 50 to get 100, so we're going to multiply the top and bottom both by 50. So our final value is 150 over 100. Multiplying 3 over 2 by 50 over 50 doesn't change the value of the original fraction 3 over 2, since 50 over 50 equals 1, and it just gets us 3 over 2 into a form where the denominator is 100. Okay, now let's look at the second fraction 5 over 4. We know that 4 times 25 equals 100, so we can multiply the top and bottom by 25. This gets us to the fraction 125 over 100. Now that these two fractions have the same denominator, we can compare them and see that 150 is clearly greater than 125, so we can conclude that 3 over 2 is greater than the fraction 5 over 4. Here's another example. 4분의 3과 6분의 4의 통분을 이용해서 어느 것이 어느 것보다 큰지 찾으시오. So use the reduction of denominators to find out which fraction is greater than the other. First, we have to make the denominators the same. We can multiply 3 by 4 to get 12, and we can multiply 2 by 6 to get 12, so we're going to use 12 as our common denominator. For 3 over 4, we multiply the top and bottom both by 3, and we get 9 over 12. And for 4 over 6, we multiply the top and bottom by 2, so we get 8 over 12. Now we can compare fractions by looking at the numerators and see that 3 over 4 equals 9 over 12, and 4 over 6 equals 8 over 12. Since 9 is greater than 8, we can confirm that 3 over 4 is greater than 4 over 6. Now we're going to look at an easy way to convert fractions into decimals. 분수를 소수로 나타내기. 통분을 이용하면서 분수를 소수로 나타내기 편한 경우가 많습니다. So in many cases, it's easy to convert fractions into decimals using reduction. 예를 들어서 아래 분수의 분모를 10으로 통분합니다. So let's take the fraction 3 over 5, 5분의 3. We can multiply 2 by 5 in the denominator to get 10, so we're going to multiply both the top and bottom by 2, and that gets us the fraction 6 over 10. Now all we have to do is put the numerator in the tenths place, so we put 6 in the tenths place, and we get the decimal 0.6. So our final answer is that 3 over 5 in decimal form is 0.6. Now let's take a look at how to convert decimals into fractions. 소수는 소수점의 자리수만큼의 10을 곱한 후 다시 나누어 분수로 나타낸다. The decimal number is multiplied by a fraction where the numerator and denominator are both the number of places after the decimal point. So let's take a look at an example to make things a little clearer. We have the decimal 0.09. 9 is in the hundredths place after the decimal point. So you're going to multiply 0.09 by 100 over 100. This gets us 9 over 100 as the fraction form of the decimal 0.09. Now we have another example, 0.47 as our decimal. There are, again, 2 decimal places after the decimal, so the last digit is in the hundredths place. The 7 is in the hundredths place. So we're going to multiply 0.47 by 100 over 100, and this gets us the fraction 47 over 100. Let's take a look at two more examples on how to convert decimals to fractions. So the first one is 0.6을 분수로 바꾸시오. So 6 is in the tenths place after the decimal point. So we're going to multiply 0.6 times 10 over 10. This gets us 6 over 10, and we reduce this fraction to 3 over 5. Next one is 0.12를 분수로 바꾸시오. The 2 is in the hundredths place after the decimal, so we're going to multiply 0.12 times 100 over 100. This gets us 12 over 100, and when we simplify this, we get 3 over 25. Now we're going to take a look at how to divide fractions. 분수의 나눗셈은 분수의 곱셈으로 바꿔 계산합니다. So the division of fractions can be done through multiplication. 나눗셈 기호 뒤에 있는 분수를 분자와 분모를 바꿔 곱셈으로 계산합니다. So 기호 means sign, so switch the numerator and denominator of the fraction that appears after the division sign. This basically means switch the division sign to a multiplication sign and switch the fraction that comes after the division sign to its reciprocal. And reciprocal just means flipping the numerator and denominator. Let's take a look at an example here. The instructions say 4분의 3을 6분의 4로 나누시오. Divide 3 over 4 by 4 over 6. So you can see here that we have 3 over 4 divided by 4 over 6. The first step that I mentioned in the previous slide was to switch the division sign to a multiplication sign. So we do that in the next step, and we also switch 4 over 6 to its reciprocal 6 over 4. This gets us 3 over 4 times 6 over 4, and 3 over 4 times 6 over 4 equals 18 over 16. We can factor out the common factors from the numerator and denominator, so 2 times 9 over 2 times 8, cancel the 2's, and get our final answer in its simplest form to be 9 over 8. So 9 over 8 is the quotient of 3 over 4 divided by 4 over 6. The first question asks 분수를 소수로, 소수를 분수로 나타내시오. So our first fraction is 5분의 3. The first step that we're going to take is making the denominator 10 so that it's easy to convert into a decimal. In order to do this, we're going to multiply 3 over 5 by 2 over 2, and this gets us to 6 over 10. Now we know that our final answer is that 3 over 5 is 0.6 in decimal form. Now let's try converting the decimal to a fraction. We're going to multiply 0.81 by 100 over 100, and this gets us to 81 over 100. We can't simplify this anymore, so this is our final answer. This next question asks us 다음 분수를 기하 분수로 만드시오. So we have to make this fraction, we have to put this fraction into its simplest form. Now, if you memorize your multiplication tables, you could know right off the bat the answer to this, but if you don't, we can go through a couple of different ways to solve this. So first, we know that 2 times 9 equals 18, and 4 times 9 equals 36. So you could cancel the 9's to get 2 over 4 and reduce that to 1 over 2. You could also remember that 6 times 3 equals 18 and 6 times 6 equals 36. So you could cancel the 6's to get 3 over 6 and reduce that to 1 over 2. But if you don't remember any of these factor sets from the multiplication table, you could go the long way and do 1 times 2 times 3 times 3 for the factors of 18, and 1 times 2 times 2 times 3 times 3 for the factors of 18, cancel out all the common factors on the top and bottom, and reduce the fraction to 1 over 2. Okay, this one says 다음 분수의 나눗셈을 하시오. Divide these two fractions. So we're going to divide 1 over 3 by 12 over 6. The first step is to change the division sign into a multiplication sign and change 12 over 6 to its reciprocal, which is 6 over 12. So now we're going to have 1 over 3 times 6 over 12. We can cancel the 3 and divide 6 by 3. So we're going to reduce that to 1 over 1 times 2 over 12. 1 over 1 is just 1, so we reduce all of this to 2 over 12, and we can reduce it to its simplest form to get 1 over 6 as our final answer.